Hi there, and welcome to episode number 22 of the Builder's Office. You might be wondering what the Builder's Office is all about. Builder's Office is about getting the right information out to everybody that is looking to build a home and looking to achieve the best results possible. So this podcast is all for you if you are doing any kind of building or you're in some kind of building project. So have a listen, tell us what you think, send through any questions or anything like that. Email address is in the comments below, in the description below. You can just send through whatever you have. Any questions, any comments, we love to hear them. Love to answer a few questions. I know that we've already had a couple of questions. Don't know if we're going to be able to cover any of those in this episode, but we'll do our best. So follow, subscribe, whatever platform you might be on. If you're on YouTube, obviously that's subscribe, hit the bell so everybody gets notified when things are coming up. If you're on Spotify, then obviously you have to follow and listen to the episode as well. So hope everybody enjoys this, and we may as well get cracking into it. So episode number 22, I've got my little list. Still trying to keep it on piece of paper and notepad if I had it, but today it's just going to be a piece of paper. But the fun one. So what are we going to talk about? The builder, you'll see it in the title if you haven't already. The builder fucked up. Now what? Well, depends what they're fucked up, I guess. So I'll try not to get too carried away with that sort of thing. I mean, where do we start when it comes to all this sort of thing? We know that there are stuff-ups all over the place. We know that things go wrong. Well, I don't really want to sort of concentrate on that negative side of it. Definitely don't, because we know that accidents happen. We know that things can go wrong. And unfortunately, the things that we've seen in the news as of late it's only going to continue happening. So we may as well get on the front foot and talk more about it. And that is either the insolvencies, it's either going to be liquidations or voluntary administrations of builders. And it is going to more than likely happen more and more. The statistics are really going to show that these things aren't going to stop happening. Companies go out of business all the time. A little bit of mismanagement happens. Things can happen. So what do we do if that happens? If you're not building with a builder, that's pretty straightforward. Well, we won't be using them. It would be nice if that was a case where things were going wrong and there weren't any customers. Because really, ultimately, if there's no customers, a business isn't going to survive in the first place. So while that would be the ideal situation, that way nobody's hurt, nobody's ending up with a house not finished, or they've paid a deposit and they basically lose it, which is something I really feel uncomfortable with. I mean, the losing a deposit for a home that you've ultimately designed with somebody, or they've supplied a set of plans and you can build this place, but nothing comes of it, and you lose a deposit. Like, that's money pissed against the wind. And to me, because of the way that I feel about all these things, I don't think that it's not a great thing. So we could go on a long talk. We could go on a lot of different stories about all the bad things that happen out there, but I don't really want to sort of concentrate on that. So yeah, the big one is obviously what happens when a builder goes under. And pardon my bald head while I look down and look at some of my material here, just to make sure that I can get all this information as accurately and as quickly as possible across to you, so that you're not sitting here listening to this just going, I wish you'd just finish the bloody sentence and get this out, because we're not liking this. So when it comes to it, so I'm going to do a little bit of reading on this, and this is going to be a little bit of sort of, I guess you could call it the homeowners brief if your builder does go under. And this is something that's not readily known. It's not readily sort of available for everybody. So I want to put it out there and just let everyone know. These will probably be the processes that you follow after a builder goes either insolvent, goes into voluntary administration, or liquidation. Obviously, liquidation is probably the worst of the lot, because they haven't realised that they were insolvent and they were trading and they've racked up debts, and large debts, mind you. Most of the time in the building industry, they're not going to be small debts. And if a builder's going under, you're going to be hearing about a lot of money that hasn't been paid out to the suppliers, hasn't been paid out to trades. It hasn't been going to the places that it's meant to. Who knows how that's happened? Only the people that have gone into that position will know. We can make judgments, we can pass judgments on all of it. I don't really want to do that, because at the end of the day, there's so many myriads of different things that can create the issue. We have seen these issues come up, but yeah, let's not get too bogged down in that. So when it comes to a project going, coming to a cease, or terminating a contract and that sort of thing, the first, well, not terminating the contract, but terminating the work stopping on your project and the builder disappearing, essentially. There's some of the things that you need to do, and one of the first things that you're really going to want to do, and this is categorically been evidenced by some of the things that have happened, and you'll see it out in the media where houses are getting damaged, and this is being done by people that have lost money. I don't agree with it. I think that it's just really poor judgment, because it's not the homeowner's fault. At the end of the day, it's not the homeowner, because the homeowner's gone somewhere in good faith to let them know that, hey, we're wanting to build a home. We trust that you can do it, and they've been let down. So just the same as the trades have been let down and they're losing money, the homeowners are in the same position. Don't go out there and start damaging a homeowner's home. It's not their fault that somebody hasn't paid them. It's really unfortunate that sort of things happen. So some of these trades and people, and not necessarily trades, it might just be people that go, oh, well, these guys have gone under, they've seen the sign out there, let's just go and take something, because nobody's going to care. Well, really, at the end of the day, the homeowner cares. I mean, there was a house that got burnt down, of all things. I mean, how does that even happen? Well, it happens. So the first thing that you really want to be doing is, if at any time you hear about a builder ceasing trading for whatever reason, first thing you're going to be doing is securing your home. So no matter what stage it's up to, it is going to be a case of going out there and getting it locked up. So that's going to mean, if there was temp fencing up there, me personally, I have a much bigger preference towards hoarding, if it can be done. And hoarding, if you know what that is, that's basically just large panels, solid timber or ply that gets put up and basically seals off the entire property. If you've been anywhere in the city and you see a large construction zone in there, you'll see that it gets all blanked off. So what it effectively looks like a large wall gets built with a couple of gates in it so people can get access, but predominantly you can't see through it. That would be my preference. Of course, that does cost a substantial amount of money to do that if you had to do it around a whole property. So that's not always the most efficient way of doing it. But if if your builder's already put up hoarding, then it's just going to be making sure that that's secure. So chucking new locks on it, getting rid of the locks that were on there before, because obviously trades and suppliers and that sort of thing are either going to know the lockbox code, or the code for the lock, or they're going to have a key for the lock. Similar sort of thing, depending if your house is up to lock-up stage, then you'll need to make sure that the locks are changed. So it's going to be going in, and depending on the type of lock, it might just be a barrel that gets changed. It might need a whole new lock put on it, but you're going to want to get a locksmith in to change the locks and make sure that you have the only key that's going to be able to get in there, because really at the end of the day, it is your property, and when the termination of the contract comes into place, all ownership reverts back to you. So that would then lead on to making sure, well, after you made sure that the whole property is locked and secure, then there's a couple other little things, but you're really going to need to be making sure that you get, depending on what the liquidator or the administration company or whoever it might be, who's handling everything for the builder at that stage, is going to be getting in and getting the evidence that the original building contract has been terminated. And once you sort of step on from there, that's when you can start having a chat with other builders. But in that process, when you're doing the termination of contract, depending on who the builder is and whether they have copyrighted plans, things like that, then you're going to have to get a release of the copyright. And when you get a release of the copyright, that basically gives you the ability for your property to be able to use those plans and be able to provide them to another builder, so that they can then finish off the build of that home. Otherwise, then you're stuck in the unenviable position of having to redraw, which really shouldn't be happening because these plans should just get released, but you'd have to redraw the entire property and get new plans certified and that sort of thing, which really isn't going to be that much fun. So the whole get out of jail part of that is going to be getting that released. And there are a couple of things, there are a couple of resources online where you can find out what's the best way to go about doing that. I will try and find the links. I can't remember them off the top of my head. If I had them on the top of my head, I'll tell you what they are, but I'll try and get that through to you in the comments or the description for the video and the podcast as well. So then at least you can actually go somewhere and find out how that's going to help you. So I'll just make sure I note that down and get that link for that resource. So one of the next things that you're going to want to do after you've gone through this little part, and what I will also do, I'll state this now, and I'll try to bring this up again at the end of the podcast, is to let you know that yes, you can. I'll produce a little document, and if you want it, you can ask me for it. Send me a message, put a comment in there, and I'll get in contact with you and send you over a little explainer sheet that has the information on there, and you'll be able to go through each of these steps to be able to make sure that everything's happening the way that it should. So after you've done this, then we'll get on to things like an independent building inspection. So what you'd need to be doing is going and contacting another possible building surveyor or a building inspector to get a building inspection done on your home to find out, well, one, where it's up to, what works have been completed, because really when you start going and talking to somebody else to finish off your home, you're going to need all that information. So best to know what's been completed, where things are up to, because some of the other stuff that you're going to want from the liquidator or whoever it might be handling the finances for the builder that's gone under, is going to be all of the things that have been spent, and getting all that information compiled so that you know, okay, well, we've got things that have been bought already on the property. Are they there? Has that money been spent, and what kind of claims do we have to be able to recover said things, or what's going to happen with the insurance company to be able to make sure that we can at least finish our home, depending on what the value of the works are as well. So you need to know all that information. So you need to really get in there with a fine-tooth comb and hammer the people that were running the project for all of the information on what's been purchased, what's left over still to be completed, and does all of that marry up with what's on site at that moment. So you will have a little bit of work ahead of you, and hopefully this makes it a little bit easier to understand. So when it comes to the original works, they've been inspected, then you're going to start moving on to what your information comes out of that. So you're going to be starting to see things like your plans and your engineerings and your energy reports, and people sending me messages, and sorry to get distracted by that, guys. Once you've gone through the original building contract, because your original building contract is going to have things like your specifications, at least attached to it, not necessarily in that contract, but the things like all your prime cost items, which are generally specific to your house, and they'll be your the things that have specific dollar amounts, and you need to know what they are, because at the end of the day, when you go and do your selections and you pass all this on to a new builder, they will need to know that, and then you'll find out whether the costs marry up to what was originally priced to you as well. So it's going to be very interesting. After you get all of the material selection stuff, depending on what's applicable and what documents might be coming through, then yeah, you will start to get a clearer picture of where your house is up to. After you've done this, there's going to be some other things that a builder might ask for, and honestly, it's going to come down to what stage the house is up to, what stage your house is built up to, on whether some of these things are going to be relevant, and whether certificates of compliance will be coming from the trades that have done the work, because you definitely are going to want to know which trades have already completed work, because you need certificates of compliance from your drainage plumbers. If you're only at slab stage, which recently I went and had a look at a property that was just at slab stage, but these sorts of things are going to be really relevant for just a slab stage completed home, and they're going to be different to, well, not different, but there's going to be a lot more things that are going to be at, say, a frame stage, or there's going to be more at a lockup stage, because there's a compiling of different things onto that. So yes, there'll be certificates of compliance for things like your electricals, your insulation, your heating and cooling, drainage plumbing, making sure that any inspections that have been done by your building surveyor, and especially at slab stage, there's already been a couple of inspections done, which is going to be your foundations and footings or slab stage inspections, just making sure that things like steel have gone into a slab, because believe it or not, there's been times where the inspection's been done, apparently the steel is in there, and people have taken a photo or something like that. And to save on money, because God knows, for whatever reason, the builder, no, I'm not saying the builder, but somebody, whoever's been the person on site, whoever's trying to make life easy, they've removed the steel and then just poured the concrete, and who cares, because steel was at a premium at the time, or for whatever reason. These things can happen. So you need those inspection reports, and you need the certificate of compliance for that. So yeah, well, once you get your certificates of compliance, and yeah, it's not limited to what I've just said, but there are more, especially if you've got a locked up house and you're getting to the stage where tiling's going on, then waterproofing certificates. And believe you me, right now, and you would have seen, there's a number of guys, especially on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, doing lots of posts showing the inefficiencies in waterproofing. I mean, that's a massive one. So many houses leaking because of inadequate waterproofing done in a bathroom upstairs in a 2-story house. It can get out of hand. One thing that's a fun one is glazing. Believe it or not, you need a certificate for glazing. And termites. Well, termites are a fun one. So yeah, once you start getting into it, like the list is long. And a lot of people, yeah, they don't take the time to sort of go through this and to find out. I mean, it's not a case that we want to be talking about people going under or businesses going out of business, and then the fallout from that. Nobody wants to know about it. But if you need to know about it, this is going to be a good resource to be able to go through it. If we run through a couple of the other quick things. Things like asset protection permits, if you've got things going on with neighbours, making sure that you have a copy of your building permit, and you should know who your building surveyor is. You should know, well, going back right to the start, then you're going to need to know, especially if this has been a big point of contention for a lot of people, but making sure that your homeowner's warranty insurance has been done, because if somebody's taken a deposit from you, then you should have a certificate of currency for homeowners warranty insurance. And if you don't have that, well, the builder's in breach of contract. So just so you're aware, you need to be on that one like crazy. And I might even make another video at some point soon, another podcast, just talking about the contracting stage and what things you need to be looking out for. And yes, you can get access to the consumer guide in the last. I'm pretty sure I put the link in wherever I'm pointing to the last episode. Hopefully I can do that. I don't know how I'm going to do that at the moment, but I'll try my best. If you're watching the video, you'll be able to see me waving my hands around and making myself look like a bit of a wally. But the making sure that you can get the consumer guidelines, the consumer guide and checklist to make sure that all of the things that are really important are checked off by your builder, and you've got that in your contract, and you know that it's actually going to happen. So these sorts of things are very critical. Once we move past that, obviously you got your building permit, you know who that's from, you got your insurances, council approvals, whatever they may be, whether they're applicable, and coming up soon. So this year, we're in 2023, we've got some major changes happening with the NCCs, which is the National Construction Code, and it's all to do with accessibility and sustainable housing. These guidelines are changing, so some of those design guidelines will need to be met, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with the crossover with some builds at the moment, but hopefully they're not affected by pre-existing ones. But after May, which is not far away at the moment, that's all going to change, and we're probably going to see some design changes that need to be implemented. And if you haven't predominantly designed your home, you might be up the creek. So yeah, as long as you've got all of your information when it comes to the guidelines, not the guidelines, the building contract is terminated, and then you can go through everything, then at least you'll be able to move on and speak to a new builder. If there hasn't been one sort of given to you by the insurer, which sometimes as I've got on another piece of paper here, there might be a list of builders that might come recommended by the insurer or by the previous builder or anything like that, where you might be allocated to a builder possibly, but it doesn't mean that that's necessarily what you have to do. So there are options, pardon me. So yeah, then as long as you've got all your independent building reports and your scope of works, then you can at least go off to somebody, and they'll also have some of their own guidelines that they'll want to follow. And especially if they have experienced taking over a previous build, then they will go through a lot of that information with you, and they should have a good process for how to handle all this sort of thing. And any builder worth their weight in gold will have processes in place for handling your onboarding into their business to be able to assist you, and hopefully they do. Doesn't mean that you won't be out of the woods, but I would hope that it does. And yeah, the warnings are out there, and I know, speaking to somebody just recently today, just about some of the insolvencies that are happening and how many we're actually seeing. But sadly, we're going to see more, and I'm just hoping that the guys that are out there that have the proper things in place to be able to make sure that these homes can be finished for you are going to be able to help you when you come knocking at their door. And you don't think that any question that you have is going to be dumb or not warranted. All of the questions are warranted. I've seen quite a few of these sorts of things happening lately, and I'm just hoping that we can at least stem the tide, and we can have these conversations readily and freely, and not be too daunted by the fact that the issues are going to arise, and it's not necessarily going to be limited to insolvencies or liquidations or voluntary administrations with companies, but the thing that we all need to need to understand is when we're doing our best, and you as a homeowner, you'll be doing your best to make sure that your home's going to be completed by somebody who's not going to go under. And I just hope that everybody can start to see that what I was discussing last week about volume builders, and some of them can be an issue. Small builders can be an issue too. There's no stopping that. And I think I'm probably going to have to do another podcast that's going to be going through what the warning signs are and what you should be watching out for. Because to have people say, "Oh, I felt confident with this person or this builder because they are a large company and they shouldn't have a problem with it," nobody's immune to the issues that are out there at the moment. And I'd love to talk more about that at the moment, but I don't think I'll be able to. I'm going to have to cut this off here because I've gone through quite a lot already. But I hope you've gotten something out of this, and I hope that everybody can spread this around. And I don't mind how you share this. Love you to like it, love you to share it, subscribe, follow, whatever you might be doing on, depending on which platform you're either watching, listening, any of the above. And share this as much as you can, because the more this goes out there, the more it's going to help more people. It may not be in the situation that you're in at the moment, but I hope that there's been a little bit of information here that has been able to sort of point you in the right direction and who you should be chatting to. Definitely go and get a building inspection done by somebody independent. And I'll say that even when the builder's not going insolvent, it doesn't hurt to have that. And if the builders doesn't feel comfortable with that, red flags, I guess you could say, red flags. And yeah, I don't have a problem with it myself as a builder. Sometimes I encourage it. Sometimes I need to be kept in check as well. So I'm only human. There's new things happening all the time. There's new regulations changing. Check them out. And we'll discuss that further in another episode. But this has been episode 22. And I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. Everybody have fun. Get up to some mischief in the meantime. Take care. We'll see you then.